Welcome back to Dreamin' Dragons. It might not be winter yet, but with a dozen or so back-to-back wet days, plummeting temperatures, and a solid evening dew, time to whiz through 4 pre-winter worries and a tip or two for tackling each of them. First things first, when the nights start getting cooler and we start getting that evening dew, you'll notice our new growth just doesn't have the mass and structure to brush it off and tackle the new day as well as our mature branches. And it's not unusual to start seeing some rust and flesh rot begin to develop. This can be accelerated with heavy rains like we're currently having, and if our new growth's resting on damp or cold trellis frames. Brrr. I try not to hack too heavily at my new growth as we roll into winter. I find it can provide some insulation and protection to the branches below, but if they get too battered, it can affect the health of the entire plant. Not good. An occasional spray with some hydrogen peroxide, copper fungicide, or a number of other pesticides can also help manage the spread of this rust. Something you've probably not thought of when you've let your dragon push out bed hair-esque new growth is the direction and shape of your branches. The cascading canopy isn't just for aesthetics. Having those beautiful curves draping down to the ground second as slippery slides for all the rain and droplets of water that end up on our plants. If your branches are running horizontal, they have twists and turns, or they just provide no route of escape for any moisture, you're looking at a prime location for a mini swimming pool and the rust and rot that a cup of water on cactus flesh creates. Yikes. For this, a case of training is in order. Progressively tie or weigh down your branches to get that slippery slide to success. A few of my late season bloomers, these Pelauras here, have their flowers attached. As you can see, they're now as pretty as a dog's breakfast. I'm not usually too fussed about removing flowers. You can check out my video to bin or to keep linked in the description. But with the forecast of all the moisture and cold weather around, I probably should have knocked the flowers off earlier. Damp, wet flowers with goodness knows what critters and pathogens resting on our branches also isn't particularly ideal. If you've been slack like I have, keep an eye on them. If the discoloration or anything sinister running up towards your fruit catches your eye, knock the flower off the end. Average bag of potting mix, the primary component of your dragon's pot, or to make things worse, an average bag from a few seasons ago. If this ticks your box, good chance when the weather cools down, the rain falls, your soil just won't be wicking that moisture away, and your baby can start choking at root level and start rotting from there up. Here's 2 pots that were next up on my replace the soil list, but just haven't got around to doing. And as you can see, they've had some rot at the base. Luckily, it appears to have calloused themselves up to live another day, but this isn't always the case. Set your plants up for success with some good quality soil. I've made a video of my season 2023 soil mix that I've also linked in the description. Feel free to check that one out. Aerate your soil, keep the drink to a minimum, but also make sure you don't plant your cuttings too deep. It can give a similar presentation. I'll be going into more detail on how I tackle the winter blues as the season progresses, plus plenty of other dragon fruity goodness, so keep your eyes peeled. And finally, if you found this one interesting, take a squeeze through this one here too. Should hit the spot just like a dragon fruit on a warm summer's day. Oh baby.